Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for January 12th, 2016, and Happy New Year. I want to call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. and roll call vote, please.
Cindy King.
Gordon Clark, present.
And Carolyn Smart, present. Would you all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to announce that the meeting is being video recorded tonight. In 1.4 Chairman's additions and deletions, I don't have any. Was there any requests? No? Okay, so it's 2.1. We're a few minutes early. 6:05, joint meeting with the Planning Board. We'll propose to fill one vacancy on the Planning Board. The appointment will be made by majority vote of the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board. There's no problem with going a few minutes early with that, is there? Is everybody here that...
Except that I'm the only one that's here.
Okay, so...
Yeah.
We can wait a few minutes. We can address some of the meeting business.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
No, not at all. Not at all. So I'm going to move down to 3.1. Review and approve request of the Fire Chief Mark Boynton to declare surplus 2 spools of 18-gauge figure-8 alarm wire estimated to be 5,000 feet long, I'm assuming? Anybody have any questions or?
I don't have any.
No? Seems pretty straightforward. I guess that it must be old gauge wire that they're no longer able to use, is that?
It's going out to bid, is that what?
Yep.
Or scrap?
Minimum bid is $200. You want to read the...
Okay.
You want to read the bid into the record so folks know?
The Town of Townsend will accept written bids on the attached surplus equipment and goods until February 1st, 2016 at 1 p.m. in the office of the Board of Selectmen, 272 Main Street, Townsend, Mass. 01469. Bids may also be emailed to mboynton@townsendfire-ems.org. Winning bidder will be contacted shortly after the bidding deadline. Item may be viewed by appointment by calling 978-597-8150. All property is offered and sold as is where is with no express or implied warranties. Items not sold will be disposed of as scrap. The town reserves the right to reject any or all quotes as it determines to be in its best interest. The equipment with minimum bids is 2 spools of 18-gauge figure-8 8-pair fire alarm wire with a minimum bid of $200.
So if there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the declaration of the following items as surplus equipment: 2 spools of 18-gauge figure-8 fire alarm wire estimated to be 5,000 feet long.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I guess we can address 3.2 till it's 6:05, if it's all right with you both. Review and approve Chapter 90 project request in the amount of $12,457.18 to mill and resurface 800 feet of Linden Street. Does anybody have any questions on that?
No.
So if there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve Chapter 90 project request in the amount of $12,457.19 to mill and resurface 800 feet of Linden Street.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we've reached 6:05. Oh, I'm sorry, Andrea, did you?
Do you have any idea when the Chapter 90 projects will begin in the spring?
No, but Ed's going to be here shortly.
Okay, thank
You
you.
can ask him.
Didn't we do Linden Street already?
This is a
Seems like only
reimbursement, no, it's a
800 feet
project
of it, so-
request.
What's that? Because Linden Street's like freshly paved.
But it says only 800 feet. How long's Linden Street?
I think maybe 800 feet.
Oh, that's interesting.
I walk it all the time, unless they're digging it up again.
Yeah, we can ask him
We'll have to
if he
ask
gets in.
Okay.
We can also look and see if we've approved the prior
And
request.
this is paying...
Was this isn't the reimbursement of it, is
Yes,
it?
it is.
Oh, it is a
Okay, that would
reimbursement.
make
It's on
more
the
sense.
agenda wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if we approve that request, then...
Completed 10/8/15.
Okay.
So if you want to amend the motion for reimbursement of the project request, and then it'll be, or redo the motion, it's up to you.
Why don't I redo the whole thing?
Okay.
So what are we approving?
So we'll vote to rescind the project request. So
Okay.
that'll be the
Make a
first.
motion that we rescind the vote we just made.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then you would say the same thing except for it'd be for reimbursement request.
Okay. Make a motion that we approve the reimbursement request of Chapter 90 in the amount of $21,655.69 for the milling and resurfacing, of 800 feet of Linden Street, which was completed in October.
Second.
Before we second, you want to amend that to $12,457?
Oh, I went to the $12,457.19.
Okay.
Second.
Wrong line.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And so all those reimbursement requests, Jody? Okay. Because I know we did Barker Hill, that sounds familiar. Depot Street sounds familiar, so these must be the reimbursement requests.
Yeah, these are all projects we did. Yeah.
Okay. As long as we know that, then that's fine. Okay, 6:05, back to 2.1, joint meeting with the planning board with the purpose to fill one vacancy on the planning board. The appointment will be made by the majority vote of the Board of Selectmen and planning board. So welcome, Lori, Jean, Ed. You don't call anything to order because there's no other committee members here, is that?
Right.
Okay. So,
Madam Chair,
Well, but
if I
you
may.
are, so
Yeah.
we're still joint.
Right. They should still call themselves to order. Even lack of a quorum, you can call to order
okay.
under the rules, just so you
Okay.
can vote officially.
So you want to call yourself to order?
I'm calling the planning board to order
Okay.
as clerk. I'm clerk with the planning board
Okay, great.
at this time.
So I understand there's a nomination for appointment?
Yes, the planning board has met and there was a unanimous vote to appoint Ed Howard to the planning board.
Okay, great. I'm glad to have him on board.
I'll make a motion once they do, because I have a joint motion.
Okay, that's fine. You can make the motion, we can second it and vote
I
on
make
it.
a motion to appoint Ed Howard to the planning board by a majority vote of the planning board and the Board of Selectmen to fill a vacancy until the next town election.
Second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Welcome aboard, Ed. That was pretty
Thank
easy.
you. Madam Chairman,
Very happy to have him.
Please.
could I just say something?
Absolutely.
Welcome aboard, Mr. Howard, and I'd just like to commend you during the recent election that you conducted yourself in a very professional, non-divisive way, and we welcome people like you to town government, so thank you for giving your time.
All righty, thank you. I appreciate it.
Drive safe.
We're adjourning our meeting. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice night, be safe.
So Kathy, we're a few minutes early, but you have a 6:15 appointment. Do you mind? No? Okay. So, appointment with Town Clerk Kathy Spofford to discuss dog licenses, annual town election, primary election, and an issue with wages for one of the Board of Registrars.
Right. Okay, I just want to remind everyone that dog licenses are available. The prices have not changed. It's $6 for a spayed or neutered dog, $11 for an unaltered dog. And late fees will begin March 1st. You can send in the form from our website or on the back of the census with your dog current rabies certificate. We'll return the certificate with your tags. And we are also having the #1 tag contest in February for those dogs registered before February 15th. And the nomination papers are available for the annual election, which is going to be held April 25th, 2016. They're listed on the website. If you go on our website under upcoming elections, there's 2 icons you can click on, and one has the openings and one has all the dates involved and everything. Let's see. The census forms have gone out to all the households. Please return them as soon as possible. You can either mail them back to us, or you can drop them off at my office in the town clerk's office. And the last thing is the presidential primary is coming up March 1st, and the last day to register to vote or to change your party affiliation is February 10th, 2016. And that's about it for that.
Okay.
Is there something else?
Board of
The registrars.
Oh, yeah, the Board of Registrars. All right, so we have one of our registrars. Well, let me go back. At the end of July, I submitted the payroll for the stipends for the Board of Registrars. And I was told at that time that they needed to become employees or they wouldn't be able to be paid. However, a month had gone by, and they weren't going to be paid until this paperwork came in. It's middle of summer. 2 were on vacation. So 2 did fill out their forms. They were able to be paid. The other one wasn't back until the end of August. So she wasn't able to be paid. I asked if we could pay them without being on payroll, and the answer was no. So fast forward, that registrar does not want to be put on payroll because she would have to pay retirement even though she's retired. The other 2 are retired teachers, so they don't have to pay into OBRA. So is there any way we can pay her at least for July and August, where we weren't told about this before it happened? Do you see what I'm saying?
Defer to Jim.
How much is the payment?
They get paid $57.78 a month.
Isn't the threshold $600 or less, and you can be a 1099 employee at $600 or less, I believe.
Okay, and that would be over $600.
But not for the 2 months.
But not for the 2 months.
Right, so there's a way around the 2 months right there.
Okay. All right, so we can go ahead and submit that to the accountant, and it would be okay? Oh, good.
Just so you know, Jim, that was an argument that was presented, and the previous treasurer said no, but so maybe you should talk to them first. I'm not sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't have the authority to mandate that, but my belief is that that's the threshold, the $600.
Okay.
So if we're dealing with just a couple of months, it's under that threshold, and there shouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
But I'll work with you, and we can talk with Terry and
Okay.
Suzanne when she comes in. Suzanne will be in tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great if we could do that, just to get this cleared up.
Do you know if there's any threshold for how much you have to make before you have to pay him to retirement when you're already retired?
I do not know. No, I'd defer to Suzanne on that.
Oh, we could ask her. Now, the other question is it possible to have a registrar work without getting paid where the others are getting paid? Do you know?
Is it possible to have somebody volunteer their service while others are choosing to be paid?
Right.
Unless there's something in the bylaw that prohibits it.
Not that you're aware of. Because I think Claire would like to stay on, and it's more the principle of getting paid for those 2 months where she wasn't told.
Right.
She hates to, give it up. She enjoys it. But she doesn't want to pay into retirement. She just thinks that's ridiculous because it's an $18 fee. I think they'll withhold $4 a month, and then they charge an $18 fee for the year or something. Yeah.
And she's already retired.
And she's already retired, so it's like, it's just...
There should be nothing that precludes her from volunteering, but
Okay.
I can work on that with you offline as well, Kathy.
Oh, okay, that'd be great. All right,
That'd be
good.
wonderful, Jim. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, Andrea?
I thought the issue was that they were not going to issue 1099s at all anymore. And
Well, that's
why they were
what
on
I had,
payroll.
and he's going to check into that. That's what we had talked about.
Okay. I didn't, from what you said, that didn't strike me as what you were saying. Okay.
No, I just said that was the issue previously, but he's going to look into that. All right, anything else, Kathy?
No, I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for coming in. Okay, move down to 3.3, review and approve Chapter 90 project reimbursement in the amount of $21,655.69 to mill and resurface 1,320 feet of Barker Hill Road. Anybody have any questions? Entertain a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the reimbursement request in the amount of $21,655.69 for milling and resurfacing 1,320 feet of Barker Hill Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3.4, review and approve Chapter 90 project reimbursement in the amount of $25,094.76 to mill and resurface 1,050 feet of Depot Street.
Make a motion that we approve the reimbursement request in the amount of $25,094.76 for milling and resurfacing 1,050 feet of Depot Street.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. 3.5, review and approve Chapter 90 project reimbursement in the amount of $60,370.45 to mill and resurface 1,584 feet of Elm Street.
I make a motion that we approve the reimbursement request in the amount of $60,370.45 for the milling and resurfacing of 1,584 feet of Elm Street.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3.6 discusses the Route 119 sidewalks. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to hold till Ed
That makes
gets
sense.
here. 3.7, review and approve request of interim chief Brock Berrio to declare surplus a 2006 Ford 500 police sedan with a trade value of approximately $600.
Madam Chair, this was before the board at a recent meeting, and the letter had not come from the chief, so it was asked to be held until the chief had spoken on it. So that's what this is before you for.
Thank you. It's much more appropriate this way. Thank you.
And this will be on our website and
Yes, ma'am.
advertised and everything. So, anybody have any questions
We don't
regarding
need
it?
to make a motion because we already
Yep.
did it. We do.
Yeah, we did make a
Okay.
motion, yeah.
I make a motion that we approve the request of, to declare surplus a 2006 Ford 500 police sedan with a trade value of approximately $600.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. 3.8, review and approve one-day liquor license for Stephen Best for St. John's Church for the Polish Food Festival on February 6, 2016, with serving hours from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m.
I make a motion that we approve the one-day liquor license for Stephen Best for St. John's Church for the Polish Food Festival on February 6, 2016, with serving hours from 6 to 10 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So 4.1, review request of Neil McGordy to be reappointed as a constable for the town of Townsend for terms from January 12, 2016 to June 30, 2019. And this was just a missed appointment, as near as we could gather, is that what? Yeah. And he didn't realize he was up for appointment, so he's been an appointed constable for many, many years.
So I make a motion that we...
Madam Chairman?
Sure.
Could I just, I'm sorry, Cindy, just a little history here for our new interim administrator. On our first meeting for new people, we changed the policy because in the past there was, according to state statute, the chief's supposed to do investigations, either probate. In the past, they hadn't done that. And so, where this is a reappointment, then that's not necessary.
Yeah,
but I'm just trying to bring all of us together up to date. So that was corrected. And actually, that person there, we had to reject because of that. So I'm just trying to bring us all so we're on the same page of past history here. So thank you, Cindy, for... Thank you.
All right. Make a motion that we reappoint Neil McGordy as constable for the town of Townsend for the term of January 12, 2016 to June 30th, 2019.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, review 4.2, review request from Alice Struthers to appoint Diane Blankenberg to the Townsend Meeting Hall Gallery with a term from January 12, 2015 to June 30th, 2016.
Make a motion to appoint Diane Blankenberg to the Townsend Meeting Hall Gallery with a term from January 12th,
2016, yes.
16 to June 30th, 2016.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So since Ed's not here, do we want to go into your report and then...
He was first under my report, so we'll just bypass that section and keep going.
And then we'll just address the sidewalk 3.6 when he gets here as well.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In my written report that you should each have copies of in your packets, and I did want to take an opportunity to say that my normal practice would be that when the agenda gets posted, this would get posted as well, so people have the benefit of the backup. I did receive an email from a resident that had some concern about the fact that the agenda just gave the overarching items that might be considered, but not the backup details. So I apologize for that, and going forward, I'll make certain that that does get posted with the agenda so everybody has it. So moving in Section 1B, skipping over Ed for now, Building Commission, a memorandum of agreement renewal. The board had previously voted to execute a memorandum of agreement with Mr. Hanks for the additional work involved in the inspections of the new school, and it was to be for a 3-year period at $13,500 per year, and the first year has now passed, so it's appropriate for the board to execute the next 1-year installment of that MOU. Jody should have a live copy for signatures for you if you'd care to take such a vote.
Gordon and I were on the board at the time, but I know you weren't. Did you have any questions?
No, that was when there was a lot of discussion about how to
Yeah, for
do this.
months.
Yes, okay, yes, I remember.
Yeah, and this is what our attorney said.
And this is just a continuation of what
Yeah,
was
we have
agreed back
to,
then.
every year it has to be renewed for the 3-year term, so nothing's changed on it. It's
Just the dates.
just the dates.
Okay. Should I read the whole thing or just the section of renewing?
If you look under the board action requested, if it would please the board, a vote to execute the previously voted MOA with Mr. Hanks. So I would move, if I were you, I would move to execute the previously voted MOA with Mr. Hanks.
Make a motion that we vote to execute the previously voted memorandum of agreement with Mr. Hanks.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Stacy puts the motions
You want us to sign it now?
I think Jody has it right there with tags on it. Next is Section
We
C.
appreciate the written note.
Thanks. Mileage reports. There appears to be an existing policy directive that mileage reports be filed by all who either have a town vehicle or submit mileage reimbursement. What I've seen is that in the forms being used that not are all consistent, and oftentimes they're confusing. I intend to create one uniform sheet for all going forward. I did also have brought to my attention that there's a policy about vehicle assignments. The chair and I have spoken about this, and it appears that this is something that was going on for a while but hasn't gone on lately. Anybody that's assigned a town or municipal vehicle for take-home use would normally have been assigned the vehicle. There'd be a vote of the board, there'd be a record of it, whether it was tax exempt or not. Public safety is tax exempt, but public works and others would not be. So if it pleases the board, I'd like to reactivate that policy as well as a part of revising the mileage reporting forms, so we have everything consistent and back on board.
I agree. It keeps us straight for the treasurer's office for taxing purposes.
And under board action requested, none. That was just informational for you. And it would be my intention that that the mileage be submitted monthly. And we've got some folks in the building that are submitting every 6 months. There's really no reason to hold off on 6 months. If you choose to not get reimbursed until you have accumulated 6 months, and that's great. We could do that. But there should be no reason that there's not a monthly report when things are still fresh in everybody's mind. So that is Section C. Section D, retiree life insurance policy. I've been advised that we have a long-serving, now retired employee who's been paying for a $20,000 term life insurance policy through the town. I'm further advised that while he has been paying the money for the premium, that there have been no payments made on the policy since April. The policy has since been canceled by the vendor for lack of payment, and they will not reinstate it. I'm engaged in trying to get the person rewritten, but if for some reason that's not possible, we have a liability here, and the right thing to do, and my recommendation to you, would be that we seek town meeting vote to self-fund this benefit. My hope is that it won't come to that, but I wanted to have you advised. One of the additional points between here and having to go to town meeting would be to pursue the bond. The employee that would have been paying this bill, for whatever reasons the bill didn't get paid, they had a bond. So I have reached out to the bond company to see if it's appropriate to hit the bond for this purpose. So I'll keep you informed on that. But the bottom line here is this employee, this former employee, should not be penalized because we failed to do something administrative with it that we had an obligation to do. We took the money. The bills were sent here by the company. They just weren't paid.
that's the same issue we were having right before you started, Jim, with the Aflac and the disability payments? And
It appears to be a similar issue,
is
yes.
that the same company?
It is not.
It's
No,
not?
this is Mutual of Omaha, entirely different group altogether.
Have any other employees' policies been canceled?
There may be one other that I don't have confirmation on yet, and
So I believe Mr. Hanks came forward. Oh, it is Mr. Hanks?
it is Mr. Hanks.
So he might not have his either?
I don't know that yet, so I wouldn't speak to it publicly.
What other options do we have beyond the bond?
Town meeting appropriation. My recommendation would be that we would seek a town meeting appropriation and escrow it. If I were the employee, I would not want it escrowed and just held in an account in the town and trust that when I pass away someday that my surviving next of kin is going to be able to access it. So I would suggest it probably be some sort of an agreement between the parties where to be held in an escrow with counsel. So, you know, if and when the person passes, the money is available to them through that prescribed agreement that we reach. I know that the person is concerned that they've been paying a premium and they want that money back. I didn't make the person happy by saying, I understand you're upset, but if the objective is to be not harmed at the end of the day, it should be that you pay a premium and then you have a benefit. So if we're able to secure the benefit, the premium should still be being paid. So the town would then be, in effect, self-insuring this life insurance policy. That's for a brain higher than mine to craft that thing, but it wouldn't seem appropriate when others are paying a premium to have that benefit, that in this case there'd be not only no premium being paid into the future, but even a reimbursement of premiums paid for the last 9 months or so.
Yeah, my only concern with that is that we're not an insurance company,
Understood.
and that if the employee paid the premiums, did the company get the premiums at any point, or do we
April-
still have the money?
April was the last time. We're still holding the
So
money.
they've been paying, the town's been taking the money out, but it's not going to an insurance company at
Correct.
all.
And it's a little more complicated than that.
Yeah.
The person's retired, so
Right.
the money is going to Middlesex Retirement, is then being sent to the town. The town gets the bill from the vendor and is supposed to marry the two and make payment.
Okay,
We've been getting it from Middlesex Retirement, but we've not been paying the bill.
right. So I'm just, we're going to have council, town
Absolutely.
council approve whatever.
Absolutely.
I mean, just my off the top of my head thoughts are
Absolutely.
that where we're not an insurance company, I don't think it's right that we take a premium. We messed up as a town. I mean,
And if we could get them
we're holding the
if we
line.
could get them rewritten,
And that it's...
then that'd be great.
Right, if we can.
Because then
If
they
we
would pay a
can.
premium.
I'm thinking ahead that, okay, if we can, I'm not sure. I mean,
Yeah.
council would have to tell me, both of us, whether...
I mean, the bottom line is make the person whole
Yeah.
and
Provide them with the $20,000.
and remove the liability to the town.
At the time of...
And I had talked to Jim about this, and I was thinking the bond, because the treasurer's bonded, and
Yeah, if that's appropriate.
we might not have to, but we owe that to the employee, however we can do it legally or morally.
And the concern I would have, though, is not to pay the money today. One of the suggestions was from the family is just pay us today, we'll put it in a CD, and it'll be available to us. But that's not what term insurance is. So there needs to be a way to structure this. And the unfortunate thing is we created the problem. They didn't. So we've got to be sensitive to that while being responsive to the taxpayers as well and doing it right.
So after you get the answer back from the bond company, present to town council with the concern and
Come back to you at the next meeting.
What the options that
And come back to you at the next meeting.
Great, thank you.
The person's expecting a phone call tonight after the meeting.
Madam Chair?
Sure.
Let me interrupt you. Can I just have
Please.
First of all, I'd like to thank our new town administrator, Mr. Kriller, for taking on problems that were created by you in a professional manner. Thank you for that. And I don't know who this employee is, but I personally would like to apologize to him for this happening. And second of all, I can assure you that over 4 months ago, I was informed and told on a weekly basis by the former administrator that this type of thing was not happening and that the problems would be resolved in a 2-week manner. It didn't happen. So, you know, we can't control what wasn't done in the past, but Mr. Krill is working hard with the board here. And again, I apologize to the employee. It should not happen. That's all I have to say. Thank you, sir.
That's the board's sentiments.
Yeah, and I think we've still got some maybes out there, and then
Yes.
I'm not sure, I mean, have all those disability insurance policies been settled?
They're being checked.
Caught up?
The-
And
well,
that
the
we have a
disability-
that we have some consistency across the board with any employee that's out there whose
Right.
insurance has been...
Those are a different kettle of fish altogether, and we do have Melanson and Heath, one of their tax specialists, trying to unbundle that because there are pretty curious tax implications for pre-tax dollars.
Oh, yeah, that's a different, yeah, but I mean, I know there's disability ones out. There's a disability insurance
His
that's...
Aflac
I think Kathy
disability.
Spofford
But that's
was one
also
of them.
pre-tax.
Oh,
It's
okay.
also pre-tax.
So you are talking...
So all the stuff that's pre-tax is being looked at by a tax specialist, and it's unfortunate we're going to spend, a couple of bucks to get that undone, but we need to because again, it was our mistake.
And then we have the retirement nest.
And then,
Correct.
Sorry to interrupt you. And then the other sad story is we've been committed even before Cindy came. And since Cindy's come, I know for a fact that she's been committed to this. And I don't think there's any way we can justify it, but this is retirement, as everybody out there knows to worry about retirement. And the income, it's not paid for years and years and years. Your money's not making money. And so, I mean, I'm actually embarrassed that our employees have been treated this way. And
I think that-
hopefully we've learned from this and we'll get people who are competent in the future so this never happens again with our employees with their money. It's just embarrassing.
And the
Thank you.
interim treasurer that we have is working on
She is. Yes.
all these issues.
She is.
Okay, Andrea, you've been awfully patient.
Cities, they're responsible to pay the full vote retirees. And they've been paying the money and all this. Where is the money now? Is it being held in a special account, or where's the money that they paid in?
I'm not familiar with, through you, Madam Chair, to Andrea, I'm not familiar with how it's done in Townsend, but in other communities where I've worked, there's a withholding account. So money is taken from, for health insurance or other optional insurances, is deducted from the employee's check, held in a withholdings account, and then the payments are made from there. So if it's the same here, my belief is that that withholding account will be flushed by that amount.
Okay, I just didn't know at all. Thank you.
Okay, under action requested, there's none at this time. That, again, is just informational, but there will be action coming before you. Section E, School Resource Officer. I was very surprised to learn that we do not have a School Resource Officer in the schools. Apparently there was once an SRO, but the position was cut. Interim Chief Barrio and Lieutenant Giancotti have met with School Superintendent Landers to begin discussions about rectifying the matter. I note that I found electronic document position description for an SRO dated March of 15 that appears to have been drafted by former Chief Marshall. I'm not certain if it was ever circulated to anybody, but it does exist as a document that it was at least on somebody's radar, his and maybe others, as recently as March of this year, or this past year. So this indicates that at least it's been discussed by somebody recently. So the way forward on that, and I know that the lieutenant and the interim chief are working, reaching out to the other communities in the school district to see if there's an appetite for everybody contributing. The school obviously contributing the lion's share. There used to be an 80-20 split, I gathered, that the school district paid 80 and the towns paid the 20. And it was Townsend specifically that paid the 20. What the breakout will be on future funding for it, I don't know, but it's at least the dialogue's begun. Today's day and age, to not have somebody in the schools in this kind of a capacity is very unusual.
I agree. I definitely support that, and I think we've talked about it previously, but to the original SRO, that was a grant that we received.
Understood. With a commitment that when the grant goes away, you continue to fund it.
Yes.
Because I've had the same grant.
Since we've had 4 years, I think.
I do not know. It was before.
Do
It was
you
before
remember
Joan.
when we stopped the school? No, it was about 3 or 4 years ago.
Mr. Barnes was still here when we
And it was before Joan. I know that.
Yeah, it was before Joe. Yeah. So yeah, I absolutely support that. Thank you. I don't know if you want to.
I'm sorry.
No. after we're done with this, Ed, I just wanted to mention that Ed's here. That's all. Go ahead.
I would just ask through you to our administrator. I believe, and I usually try to be factual in statutes laws, but I believe that there's a statute mandating now that SROs are in schools. So if you, in your expertise, could just check that out when you have a chance doing your research, I would appreciate it.
I believe that the interim chief and the lieutenant are all over it, and
I think it may be mandatory.
I know that Rock was surprised, and when he spoke with the lieutenant gave him some of the history, and within a half a day they were in Jones' office. So
credit to them. And here's the statistics: is if you look at chances for medical emergencies, God forbid crime or other things, where are more children from 3 communities than in our schools? Doesn't make sense, not in this day and age. So I commend the new interim and the town administrator for bringing it forward, and that's something that needs to be addressed.
So at this point, under action requested, there is none. That's informational as well. F, communication supervisor. As earlier advised, I've posted, and that's not true. I've actually not posted. I held back because I had not gotten a sense yet from the board in total as to what your wishes were going forward, and I didn't want to post something inadvertently and then have to pull it back, because I'm used to being a town manager where I would just go post it. I'm a town administrator, and I want to be very, very cautious of the lines of responsibility here. So I intend to post it, presuming that there is the support of the board this evening. But it goes forward to say that Interim Chief Barrio felt strongly enough about the need to fill the position, even in just an interim, until the permanent chief can review the staffing across the board. It's imperative to keep the technology up and running in the department. After the requisite 10 days, I'll have a recommendation for you to consider this short-term fix. So what Rock is recommending is not filling it permanent full-time, because there will be a new chief coming on shortly, and he or she will should want to look at the entire organizational structure and determine how, with very limited resources, they want to staff all of the functions. And it may be that they want this position, it may be that they want something else. I know several communities have a senior dispatcher who is paid a step above, and they do all the administrative work, the scheduling and the like, and then they have IT outsourced. So there may be another way to get at this workload, but in the meantime, we don't have the luxury of doing that, nor should we when there's a new chief due within another month or 2. So Rock's recommendation was that we just do a 30-day rolling. That gives the chief the flexibility when he or she arrives to either do it permanently or cut it off completely. So if it would please the board, I would like to hear from you if you support my posting of that. I'd strongly recommend that you do.
Thanks, Cindy.
Yeah, my only question, is that a type of position where somebody would apply for a job?
It'd likely be a vendor. It would likely be a vendor at this point.
Oh, okay. Not an individual applying for a job. Unless there's somebody out there looking.
It could be. I mean, I'm aware of some folks that have done this that might have an interest, but until it's posted, it would be premature to reach out. So I don't imagine that a person's going to come in and sign up, leave their job on a 30-day rolling. So you may find something like a retiree that has done it in the past that is willing to step in until things get stabilized. The reason that Rock, I know that you've each received in the email Rock's analysis. You can agree or disagree as board members about the value of the position as crafted, and whether or not the person most recently in that position was focusing on the IT or the communication supervisory position or other things. And I know that person was pulled in a variety of directions. By all accounts, an outstanding and smart guy, but being pulled all over the place. What's inescapable is right now we have, according to Rock, we have 4 patches that have been put forth by PAMIT, our software provider, that have not been installed, which leave us vulnerable to a variety of failures in the program for the entire police department. There are some E911 requirements that have not been met, that there's statutory obligation to meet, that Rock would like to suggest that he's a smart enough guy to do that, but he knows well enough that he's not. And it's a very technical thing, and it's not your run-of-the-mill IT person that knows how to do computer stuff. It's pretty technical police stuff, and there are certain clearances that you would need as well to be able to get into that type of a system. So Rock believes that we are at a significant disadvantage right now, that the position's not filled in some capacity and that the work's not getting done.
Yeah, I was genuinely concerned when I read his email. He's got some... Gordon, did you want to...
Yes, just waiting. First of all, when I did read, is it all right to call the Chief Rock?
He'd prefer it. Yeah, he'd prefer it, yeah. By the way, is his given name, if anybody's wondering if that's sarcastic, his father was allowed one child to name. The mother named 3 boys, all saints. The father was given one choice, and he named him Rock. That's his given name.
It's a nice story.
I was highly impressed by the email we got on his, for just being in such a short time, and recognizing that there's serious deficits over there at this time, okay, and how it happened, what had happened. I like the fact that he says it's here, and we need to do an immediate assessment to triage it so that public safety is unaffected, but in fact to come up with an intelligent, because what was done in the past does not work, and there could be all kinds of reasons why it has not worked, and so we need to address that. And I think with the new chief coming in, I think it's just a smart plan is to start to work towards that, but with us and the new chief is come up with a long-term plan, whether that's modifications there, reposting of the position so the person's doing that, not doing other things that he wasn't properly trained for, or the other things we may have to start thinking about regionalization. But I think this is a professional approach, and we're not getting locked into something until we know what's going to work. And so number one is Rock, I give him credit, and the interim here is this problem was not created by them, it was created by other people. And they haven't done someone else's fault, they're fixing it, and they have a professional manner. So I'm all supportive this month at a time, and when the new person comes on, they're going to have to get their working boots on because they got problems there. And it's not about who didn't do the job, it's about how we fix it, public safety number one. So I compliment this plan here, and I think it's a good triage. That's all it is a triage. So congratulations to you, Rock.
No, I absolutely support myself Jim's recommendation. I know I talked to him briefly, during the budgeting season, especially with FinCom. We look at the different needs, and like you said, between Rock and the new chief, figure out their needs, it's their department, so whatever he thinks will work to get them through, I support.
And I mean, interrupt, and the other important part of this comes down to money, is that we got to get the best product, but
Yeah, that's my next question.
Yeah, is that, so we got to find out what works for town.
What do you think? Do you have a number that...
What Rock is recommending is looking at the existing weekly allocation that's already budgeted and seeing what we can get for that. Now, when you're buying off the street, generally speaking, if it's a vendor, there's going to be markup on top. So, you might not be getting the 40 hours. I know with Chief Demora, his contract originally in Rock Sense, you're seeing 30 as opposed to 40, so perhaps it's something like that. But I'll leave that to the lieutenant and to Rock to work those details. My obligation is to get the posting up. So.
Great job. Okay. Do you need a vote on that? Or?
No, I think just the sense of the board that it's okay is fine. I'm just looking to cover myself more than anything. Next you get to G, Police Chief Screening Committee. The committee met again this past Friday morning, publicly posted 10:30 a.m.
I have a question. I'm going to raise my question, if I could.
Okay, Steve, go ahead.
So we're going to post for a new interim IT or somebody to come in to fill Dave Maz's position for the required 10 days. And it's an interim position, and then when asked Don why wasn't it posted for the required 10 days on an interim police chief, it was told that it didn't need to be. What's the difference in this?
Madam Chair, if I may. Through you, Madam Chair, to Steve, I think I said this to you when we met privately. I will own the fact that the interim chief's position was not posted. Now, I don't disagree with council's opinion. I think that if I wanted to be argumentative, I could find a way to disagree with it, but on its face, I don't disagree with it, particularly because he cites cases that and I've asked you to do it, I don't know if you have, but if you look through the cases, they're actually pretty good and on point that the opinion being offered about the language in the charter is written in a way that would allow for an interim, non-permanent position to not be posted. Having said that, that's a bunch of legalese around, a defense of something that I didn't do. So moving forward, as I told you the other day, any position, whether it's interim or permanent or otherwise, will be posted.
And the only other thing I would, and this is just a suggestion on my part, since there's been a lot of talk early on of how employees haven't who were put in position haven't done their position position to the fullest and put the town into a crisis, maybe the ones that are interviewing those employees should take a little bit more time and we wouldn't have this mess, but that's just me. That was my question. That was my question and statement.
Actually, I wasn't around when they interviewed for that position, but I think they did.
I'm just saying, we're
interview
talking
quite a
about
few
the content, we're talking about Andy Sheehan, we're talking about now Chief DeMora not seeing this stuff out. I'm just Chief Marshall, so I'm just saying that if these are the problems that have been from people who've been put in place by members of the board, I would strongly suggest maybe a little bit more in-depth of an interview process.
If I could, Madam Chair, through you to Steve, I didn't hear anybody criticize Chief Marshall, criticize Andy. I didn't hear anybody criticize even Dave Mazza.
I didn't say Dave Mazza.
Well, you gave a list of names, and I think, at least from my perspective, I'm being very careful to address issues, but not people. It doesn't take a lot of...
Well, Mr. Clark said it straight out, that, previous town manager...
Okay, all right, we're going to cut that.
That's where it came into.
This isn't really productive.
Productive because it's true.
That's enough.
Madam Chairman, can we move on, please?
Yeah.
Let's just move on, because we're just somebody at the people, right? Before we do. Table. Move on. All good.
Thank you for your permission.
Oh, you're welcome.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, as I said, the committee met 10:30 a.m. last Friday, the Friday before. And the committee chairman, Boxborough Police Chief Warren Ryder, our own Fire Chief Mark Boynton, Badge Quest Bob Pomeroy, and me. By way of update, I offer the following. We received, and at the time I had listed X because I had a call out, because I wasn't involved in the original process when it began. I came in midway through, so the number is 39. There were 39 applicants received in total. We selected as a group 10 to provide answers to 10 police-specific essay questions developed by Badge Quest. After receiving the essays and each committee member evaluating the essay responses, in the meeting last week, put the candidates to the test based on our analysis of their essays and narrowed the field. It says 5 in my report, but actually that's a misstatement by me. It's 4. Chief Boynton had advocated that 1 additional be put forward. I had in my notes that there was agreement to put the 1 additional forward, but there was not. So I've had, since my report went out, I've had a couple of people, Chief Boynton and Mr. Pomeroy, reach out and say, that it wasn't 5, it's 4. So it stands as 4. Originally, it was expected that the next step would be to have the 4 go through the assessment center with a short list of 3 forwarded to the Board of Selectmen for consideration and appointment. As a committee, however, we're putting forward a change of plan. Tonight, we, in the person of me, we'd like to announce the introduction of a public participation piece of the process. Accordingly, we'd like to invite any Townsend resident to submit a letter of interest on or before 4 p.m. the 19th, a week from tonight, to the screening committee care of my office if they'd like to be considered for inclusion on a public interview panel. We plan to select 7 people representing a broad representation of the town to join the screening committee in interviewing the currently identified 4 candidates. After the interviews, we will solicit the citizens' input, and it will be factored into the final evaluation of the candidates as they make their way through the rest of the process. So if you're interested, please submit a letter with your name, the segment of the community that you believe you represent, example, business owner, stay-at-home parent, senior citizen, etc., a brief statement describing why you're interested, and 2 sample questions you'd like to ask the candidates. Obviously, in a public interview process, there are legal constraints around what can be asked and what can't, so it can't be just on the cuff, off the cuff, free-for-all. So we need to have a pretty tightly defined process, but we do want to give an opportunity for there to be a public vetting of the candidates before they go into the machine of the assessment center proper. I know this is a little different than what was originally contemplated, and somebody told me that this is a no-win proposition because there are going to be those that feel there hasn't been enough public, they're going to think this is just a token bone being thrown. There are those that, think that there shouldn't have been, that are going to be a little upset that I'm rolling this out. But it just seems like there's a logical place to interject this public process at this point. Again, this committee is not going to be naming the 3 finalists, but they will have the opportunity to say, for these reasons, we think that these people stand out in this order, and that then gets factored into the continuing process. So.
When we met with Badge Quest, that's what they sort of said the community surveys are, but I know me as a selectman, myself as a selectman, I wanted the screening committee to handle it how they wanted to,
Right.
so I support whatever your committee decides is the best. The question I had is, what about organizations? Because I know the Townsend Rod and Gun Club
Absolutely.
was very interested in, kind of stances on gun control and things like that. I don't know if we could reach out, I don't know if anybody watches.
I presume that a member of one of those organizations would be a resident and would be able to fit into this, and their affiliation would be Townsend Rod and Gun Club.
Yeah, I was thinking like Townsend Business Association, Townsend, just off the top
I
of
would
my head.
I would hesitate to reach out to groups
Okay.
or people, but instead just do our best to get this disseminated, and whoever has an interest, they come.
Okay.
If we get just 7 people, then amen, we have 7 people. If we get 207, then the committee is going to have to figure out how do we get the best representation across the board. And the way it's anticipated that it would go down is there would be a day selected probably 2 weeks out that the candidates would come in. They'd be in this room one at a time. Chief Ryder, as the chair of the committee, would run the meeting. He'd call the committee to order. He'd introduce the candidates. He'd introduce the people on the screening committee, and then there'd be a set order to keep things consistent where the questions would be asked in the same order by the same people for each candidate.
Great, sounds good. Did you have anything on it?
I have a question. Do we know, or do you have any feedback for us in the town about how the surveys, the community surveys went? Did we get?
I do not. I wasn't involved in the process at that point, so I don't know. But I can find out for you and make certain I get that out to you.
I think it would be great to know how many did they get, and is there any kind of feedback that we can get on what?
Yeah, I kind of airdropped into the middle of the process, so I don't have that backstory as much.
Yeah, they use all those surveys to compile the data to write the assessments and the testings. So I know they do. Gordon, did you have?
Just a couple things. One, I had no part of this, and none of us had any part, and I just think this is improving upon a great process. So I would commend the screening committee on this. I would support it. It's up to the rest of the board. The only thing I would ask is there any chance that we could have the presence of Holly's excellent cinematography to share it with our community? Is there any chance of doing that?
Well, part of the thing that's tricky is the candidates would not have necessarily been public at this point, but because we're deciding to put this step in place, they will be made public. So they're going to have to determine whether or not they're willing, as one of 4, to go public, when it might not have been until they were one of 3. So there's, it's a compromise, I think, that is a reasonable one for the candidates to have to consider to continue in the process to be able to get the public piece in.
They're a current police chief.
And this stage is still a work in progress.
It is.
Got some tweaking to go.
It is, but I think it would be entirely appropriate, because they will be named public at that point, to have it televised.
Could we just recommend that we're going to leave that decision up to the screening committee, and so we don't interfere with the professional, because someone may not be ready to let the town know that they're thinking about leaving, until they know that they have a real chance. So I would support, if it's all right with my 2 fellow members here, but let's leave it up to the final decision.
Yeah, we're still,
And that way we stay on.
we're not part of the process yet until it gets to the 3 anyway, so.
I could have started with the bottom, which is board action requested, none.
Right.
Yeah, right.
No,
just informational for you.
But it's also letting the community know that this process is being taken
Yeah, we
serious.
charge the screening committee
Yep,
along
and
with
they're doing it
Badge
all,
Quest
so.
to do their things.
So thank you for that update.
And I can tell you that each of the candidates, as one of the essay questions was, what does your current supervisor know about your application? And I can tell you that of the 4 that are currently before us, that their supervisors already know that they're out in the market.
So serious.
Great, thank you.
Moving on to Section 2, financial updates. Fiscal 16 budget. As everyone is no doubt aware, the fiscal 16 budget is not in very good shape at all. I've been advised by our town accountant that the budget presented and voted at annual town meeting back in May was never a balanced budget. I'm not referring to the use of $80,000 in one-time revenues from stabilization to fund recurrent operating expenses, although that's greatly concerning in itself, but rather there was $100,000 plus error/oversight in the prior town administrator's master spreadsheet known as the inflow-outflow sheet. You may be more familiar with that terminology than I am, but that's what it's what it's labeled. This sheet was apparently relied upon to keep track of the total fiscal year 16 expenditures, while the warrant articles and associated votes and while the warrant articles and associated votes were accurate, their total did not tie back to the spreadsheet bottom line. So coming off of the document for a minute, the way I understand it from Terry, the town accountant, is that Andy's practice was to keep a running tally, a live spreadsheet that showed the amount of money that all of the warrant articles, including budget and other spending articles, needed to tie back to, and that there was an inadvertent $100,000, $111,000, $407, whatever the number is, a little over $100,000 debt payment regarding a school roof project that was carried in the warrant. If you look back at the warrant from May, you'll see in Article 22 there is a debt service budget that includes the payment, and then it includes a parenthetical deduct of the same amount with a notation that says that payment will be made out of the Capital Stabilization Fund. See Article 21. You go back to Article 21 and it's right there. So everything looked right as rain that night. But at the end of the night, when it was determined that we're short $60,000, I guess it was, plus or minus, and then the rec issue came in, and it's now another 20. When it was determined that we're 80 short, that 80 was predicated on looking at that spreadsheet, which was missing the 100. So we're 100 out. We're then the 80 that was used out of stabilization, that either those expenses have to go away or other money needs to be found to fill it. And then going back to the report, moreover, there were issues that were anticipated for a fall special town meeting to be addressed once free cash was certified. And as you're further aware, free cash has not yet been certified due to our inability to close the fiscal 15 books. So now we're halfway through 16 and we've not yet closed 15. The inability to close the books is driven entirely by a lack of work product having been delivered from the prior treasurer collector. Our newly contracted treasurer collector is working very closely with the town accountant to catch up on this work, but the work is slow, given issues like they've discovered a failure to reconcile cash and a failure to have reconciled bank statements. I'd like to suggest to you I know what that means in some level of detail. I can speak to it at the 10,000-foot view, but they were greatly concerned when they thought that they were getting close and they discovered that these other things had not yet been done. This leaves us two choices. We can continue to put off the special town meeting until free cash is known, or we can call a special town meeting and utilize the only other available source of funding, stabilization, to address needs with the intention of backfilling stabilization dollar for dollar in the spring with free cash. While it's entirely your call, my inclination is to not use stabilization as a bridge, but instead to identify areas within the budget to make cuts now and keep the operating budget in the black and wait on any one-time expenses until after free cash is in hand, which would be a special town meeting, most likely the evening of annual town meeting, so it would still be appropriate to impact fiscal 16 as a special with only 1 month to go. But we could still clean house at that point for anything that was outstanding. Again, that's your call. I would take your policy as I go further here. Again, it's just my opinion and recommendation, and I would look to your policy direction on the matter. Under board action requested, if it would please the board, I'd just appreciate to know your thoughts and guidance going forward.
So I'll take each one of us. Go ahead, Cindy.
I can't, in my wildest dreams, can think of where we can find $100,000 in cuts. I'm sure that there are departments that can help, but just off the top of my head, without looking. And first, as former chair of the FinCom, I want to apologize for any involvement that we had in missing that $100,000. I want to take some responsibility for that, not pass it off to Andy or anybody else.
And if I can be clear, I'm not looking to pass it off to Andy
No,
as in as much as the sheet itself is where the issue is.
But I just want to be clear that I want to share in the responsibility for this happening. And with that also, as a FinCom already discussing this?
This is the first public presentation.
Okay. When is your next meeting?
I don't know. We haven't posted. This is the first announcement of this, and we also have a reserve fund transfer and some other business we have to do, but that's just arisen. So.
Right, and my thoughts are just to quickly, to have the FinCom weigh in on this as well on the solution.
I'll let you all know as soon as I realize that. And they're pretty good about responding to a crisis, so I think that we can meet quickly.
I absolutely agree. We need to have a work session with FinCom to get a feel. I don't want to make this decision arbitrarily, but as far as policy-driven, I agree with you. I don't want to use more stabilization to fund a deficit. The only thing I'm unclear on is I looked at the inflow and the outflows, and I haven't ticked it up to the article, but is that $108,000 for the school roof, because this is something I specifically asked about in the spring, is that available in the capital stabilization account anymore, or was the money used for other debt service and that money no longer exists?
Madam Chair, I'd like to say that I know the answer. I've not drilled down that deeply. I can just tell you that as of last Thursday, Terry brought this to my attention, and she was very shaken by it. I would presume that Terry's first course of business would be to look and see if it existed someplace else, but she's trying to fill out the recap sheet. She came to me and said, I can't fill out the tax recapitulation sheet. I can't fill out the recap sheet because the money isn't there. So.
Well, that's the thing that concerns me. When we shifted a few years ago to, instead of having our debt service within our operating budget and now pulling debt service out of capital stabilization, that to me seemed like very bad fiscal policy. And I don't know if that 108 still exists in there.
Well, it seemed, what I'm trying to recreate as much as I can trace back, it seemed like you have an article for capital stabilization of, I think, $247,000 last year, which I've read some of the minutes to try to unbundle that. And it looks like there were several projects. You know, Spalding School, there was a piece of debt on that. There was, I think, something for this building. I'm not sure though.
Fire truck payment.
Fire truck payment. But then there was a $75,000 appropriation to the capital stabilization fund. So is it policy that every year there's a chunk of dough is dumped into the capital stabilization?
When our free cash is certified in the fall, we try and dump some in the capital stabilization for the next years, as well as regular stabilization as a matter of policy depending upon the free cash amount. But instead of putting that away for future projects, what's happened in the last 2 years, it's been used for actual debt service. We moved the fire truck payment out of our operating and started pulling it out of capital stabilization instead of putting it towards future projects. And then combined it with, 2 years ago going out for that big borrowing for all the other projects. So I think the former administrator's thought process is you borrow for everything and then you put money away to pay the debt. But that, that's just not my ideology. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but
I think at the time that the interest was so low that
free money over time.
It would be cheaper to just do it.
So, but I'd like to have a plan going forward that's going to take a lot of work with the Capital Planning Committee, is how we're going to address capital needs. I mean, the original intent when we formed it was to put money away and only borrow for big ticket items. But I think there needs to be clear fiscal policy going forward and how that account is used and established and not changed year to year.
Absolutely.
Did you have?
I'm trying to digest this. It's quite a bit to digest. So I promised myself in 2016 I'd try to be glass half full. But I look at you two, who I think have tons more, and Mr. Kriller have tons more expertise in this area than I do. And I can tell you're concerned. So that calls me concerned. Mr. Kriller, how long have you been working for us?
3.5 weeks. Coming on the month.
And what I like about, I don't like that all this stuff's coming forward, but what I like is that Mr. Kriller's coming forward instead of concentrating on who did this or who didn't do this. He's coming forward with solutions, and I find that commendable. And I think we have a lot of serious decisions to make here for the townspeople, and we didn't know this was here, but we got to deal with it. And I think with the guidance of all us working together, we'll do what we have to do. But the glass half full part of me says, thank God in a short time how many issues Mr. Kryler's addressed here. It's amazing to me. So I feel like we went from a Pop Warner coach to Bill Belichick. I really do, and somehow we're going to get through this. All right? All right? And I'm thankful. All right?
He's not even here to defend himself. Seriously?
You know what?
That's unprofessional.
We're not.
It's unprofessional.
Thank you for your comment, but we're not entertaining comments right now.
And again, as I said, I wasn't talking about how it happened. I'm talking about that this gentleman here has come forward with solutions, not placing blame. And I find a great amount of respect for that. And I think
I'm sorry, Gordon.
Excuse me, can you please interrupt everyone else from listening?
No.
I find it extremely rude.
I find it extremely rude that
All right, stop.
Hold on. Carolyn is the chair, and she's asking for everyone to stop.
If we can't stop, then, you know, okay.
All right, I lost my track.
Ask you to
Anyway,
step up.
what I'd like to do is, I would just say to the people out there that I'm confident in your two expertise in these areas, and with Jim's, and I'm going to follow your lead, that we can work this out with the people. So let's come up with solutions. It doesn't matter how we got here. It's a bad thing for Townsend, but I'm confident that the team here is to solve this. That's all I'm trying to say in a positive manner. Thank you.
I appreciate that. So, Jim, I agree with your ideology. It does scare me to take stabilization. I understand the concept was this will solve the problems right now for the deficits that we have. We have veterans, we have, you know, a few others. I think we have some unpaid bills as well. But if we, so I support your ideology. I don't like doing it that way, but do you think it would be worth taking some more time meeting with the FinCom?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is just the first blush.
Okay.
I mean, I got this as recently as, you know, as I said, the end of last week.
Okay. So
Maybe we could take some from stabilization and cut some from the budget, because the more we take from stabilization now, when we go to do 17's budget, we're going to have to come up, because it's non-recurring funds, and the budget is a recurring expense. So we will be really in deep trouble the more we use from stabilization.
I agree.
Madam Chair, if I may, through you to Andrea, the best case we could hope for is that we're able to take this 111, whatever the number is, and tie it to a specific capital payment. If the policy has become that you make those debt payments out of one-time revenues, capital stabilization, then maybe there is an argument that can be made that it can be done out of free cash, and it's not and it's not an operating debt. If we can cull it out that way, and some of that is squinting, I'll give you. But I mean, I've just tried to become familiar over the last couple of weeks with the budget, and there are areas that I've identified that looks like there might be a discussion to be had, but to Cindy's point, not a $100,000 discussion. But I think definitely a working session with the FinCom sooner than later.
Yes.
So if the FinCom has the ability to post, Andrea, so we can deal with Joe's reserve fund request,
right,
and then do a working session on this, I think that would be great. Sooner than
today's Tuesday. I'll see if I can try to get us posted for Friday. I don't know, but I can certainly for the early part of next week.
Yeah, I'll make myself available. I don't know what.
We have to do.
Definitely, I definitely want to be there.
Okay. So that's where we'll take it.
Thank you, Andrea.
Wonderful. Moving next into Section 3, project updates. Police station and town hall locks and cameras. Subsection 1, police. I've been advised that the key fob lock system in the police station has been largely inoperable since a lightning strike or power surge last October. As of last week, Interim Chief Barrio had received a quote to repair, replace, or update the system with technology that will interface seamlessly with the new system at the fire headquarters. The cost is $10,000 plus or minus, closer to the minus. We have a claim out with the insurance carrier on that matter. So the issue was there was a lightning strike, there was a power surge, and it fried some of the components. So the guys and the gals have been using manual keys or fobs, depending on what they needed to do to be able to access different areas. The one benefit of a key fob system is that you have access control. You have the ability to see at any given time who is where, and for a lot of good reasons that's important, like cell watch. Suicide watch. If somebody's a certain designation in there in the cell block, the key fob being swiped shows that somebody physically was there to look through the door at the person, which is a requirement of the state. We lose that when we don't have this system working, so it's imperative that we get that addressed. I don't know, and I couldn't tell Rock where $10,000 exists to do it. But I also know that we don't have the luxury of not doing it, so this is an issue that's being worked as well to try to determine how we're going to do this. To point, Rock told me this on Wednesday, Thursday of last week. On Friday last week, Mark Mercurio got called back in after having gone home because the state was here to do the cell inspection. Part of the state cell inspection is they want to see the logs that demonstrate that the cell checks have been done. We can't produce the logs to show that cell checks have been done. what Rock, I think, very cleverly was able to put together, and it's not yet been determined whether the state will accept it, but I think they will, is actually looking at the video monitor, which is date and time stamped, that shows staff going down, swiping the fob that's doing nothing, and looking in the window. So that might be enough to get us through this period of time until we get the system fixed. So.
Madam Chair?
Please.
I just have a question. This is the first I've heard about this, and this happened in October. Your liaison are also empowered by the board to handle all police matters. Were you notified of this?
No, but he's going to see if there's an insurance claim out on it. Right?
No, I'm talking about that we didn't have this coverage. Were you told since October?
No, this is the first time I think we've all
That's well, I didn't know because you're the liaison and also the police, so I didn't know if you had knowledge that we didn't have. And the only thing I'm concerned about, as some people might know, is that I transported thousands and thousands of prisoners and also took care of them. And the first offense for liability on civil rights violations or deaths, unattendable deaths, is your accountability that the checks were made, and that's statutory. So on one hand, I'm very glass half full in 2016 that Rock and them are addressing this, but I don't know why you weren't told about this since October when you were the police liaison. But anyway, let's move forward, let's fix it so we're not at risk.
Yeah, did you find out if we had a claim filed?
One was not filed at the
Are we going
time.
to be able to get it back?
We're trying.
Thank you.
We're trying.
And what is the deductible? Is it 1,000? 1,000? Well, hopefully. It's better than 10.
It is.
Yes, it is. Glass half full, Cindy.
I feel right.
There you go. I like that.
Either way, it's got to get done, so.
Absolutely. Towns are liability for millions of dollars.
So that's the other problem. If the claim can't be covered because of the time, how are we going to, is it going to be through budgetary to fix?
Well, I mean, the police budget has already absorbed BadgeQuest, which wasn't originally contemplated. The police department budget has had 2 interim chiefs that have been budgeted, but I know when Chief Marshall left, there were things that were due to him pursuant to his agreement, so that hit that salary line. So Rock is combing the budget. Obviously, you can't jump between personal services and expenses, so he's combing to see what they can squeeze back on, and they can loosen up, ideally just for $1,000 for a deductible, but if need be for the full 10.
They might have some money left in their insurance receipts too, account from prior claims, because we had a lightning strike, and I don't know if all that money was used, and that could be redone to that. We had a tower strike, I think it was on Bayberry and Lunenburg Road. Yes, Andrea?
We, in the capital plan, there was to put the key fob system into here.
Yeah, that's the next
doors, the selectman's office and the clerk's office.
Yeah, that's up next, Dean.
That was $15,000, right? Around there?
10,000.
I think Jim's going to address that.
It's up next.
It's next on the agenda.
Could we vote at the special town meeting to repurpose that money to cover the cost for the police department?
I don't think so. That was part of a borrowing.
If it was bundled as a part of a borrowing, and it would depend on how the bond was actually structured and sent out.
Yeah,
I mean, I doubt very much that the purchaser of the bond was looking at that level of detail to see that we were buying widgets and, they're looking
They
at...
made us send us a certified thing of all
Of the vote, sure.
No, of the breakdown of what was
But if we go out and we borrow for a water project and there are funds left at the end of the day, even though there was an original bondholder, we're not precluded from going back and reauthorizing that balance to some other purpose.
Well, that might be
So, I mean, to that point, it gets paid out of the budget today with the express intent of seeking town meeting approval to repurpose the town hall capital project money on that, which still leaves us without whatever the intention was behind doing fobs here.
Yeah, but at least we haven't started on that project.
Understood.
And we have to retrieve this project.
Understood.
It might be covered by insurance too. Keep our fingers crossed.
All right.
Thank you.
So I'll
Could I interrupt, Jim, if you wouldn't mind? Ed's been waiting
Got a storm to fight out.
we're letting him rest back there.
Would you mind?
No, please. He was right up
Interject
the top.
him, and then we can go back to the keep. I'm sorry, Ed.
That's okay.
I just know he's busy pre-treating his roads and...
Yeah, go there, Dennis.
Madam Chair, I'm not familiar with the board's policy on having department heads come and visit on a regular or semi-regular basis to give updates. I know that there are written reports that are provided, but I just don't know how much face time you generally get. But particularly because something pretty extraordinary has gone on with Public Works as we go into the winter months, which is...
Andrea.
Which is, you know, a 180-degree turn on how roads are being treated. I mean, everywhere in New England, not everywhere, I mean, traditionally in New England, it's a sand-salt mixture. So I thought it was important that Ed be given the opportunity to speak to how that process is going so far. I know when I drive in, I come down, I don't even know the name of the road, but by the Brookside Farm, Wheeler Road, and as I'm cresting the top of the hill, I'm sliding all over the place, and as soon as I cross over the town line, you know, last week when we had that one hit of snow, it was perfect. I'd like to say that was because of the product that you're using and the you know, the staff that are putting it down, but it's not mine to say. It should be you.
Getting it down a little before the snow actually started, so it would actually be on the road, not on top of the snow. Makes a big difference.
So we did have Ed come in tonight just in case you had any questions about how it's working, but what I know of him already is that he won't sit here and blow his own horn. So, I mean, you guys, I've been doing this for 25 years, and you guys do an outstanding job. In the short time I've been here, the stuff that you guys get done with as few people as you actually have, you know, you should be commended for that. And again, I don't know how often that happens with you, if you have people come before you, but I think while we've got him here, it should be said publicly that, you know, he does an outstanding job.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so
We're all big fans here.
But I guess seeing as you guys have a shortfall, my request for 2 additional personnel isn't going to go far.
I saw that this weekend.
Well, I can always try. You know?
As Gordon says, glass half full. Let's see what happens.
But can I let you see here, ma'am, and this is my new thing for 16's glass half full. So before, we've come 20 years ahead, and that's out of Ed's mouth and other people's. We've come 20 years behind the times now until we're state of the art, and thanks to this person's work and his staff. But let me just tell you how we got to this point. When I first got here, Ed was nice enough so I could get educated, took me around, and he showed me all the stuff going out there, and he educated me. And at that time, there's a difference between people who are short-staffed who have wants and needs. I can't believe how understaffed this person is. From where no one's lost more staff than this person up there, and he continues to do the job. So after we had a talk, he said that he spent 8 to 10 weeks every spring picking up sand, right? And this is all truthful in the fact. And I said to myself, 8 to 10 weeks. And then when I was running, and as a resident, people would always say, potholes, potholes. Well, the guys couldn't get out there for 8 to 10 weeks to do it because you got to pick up the sand, right? And like that.
It takes 3 people.
So I took it, so no one has any questions, on my own time, and from favorites that I built in the 1995s when I got $500,000 for towns and cities for free trucks and all that stuff. I went and visited my acquaintances, just saying, hey, how's this salt thing work? And they all said, we save the money. And I come back, and all I said to Ed is, I talked to all these highway superintendents. They all tell me it's a thing of the future. Would you just take a look at it and have a chance? And I thought that'd be the end of it. Well, I went up there about 4 weeks later just to say hi. Hey, anything with that salt thing? He goes just like this to me. Gordy, right here. The pile was this high. Is that the truth? The pile's this high. This guy, I think someone on his own time and other stuff, he talked to Chip Barrett, talked to Jimmy Clyde, by the way, who told me you called them, the Bloxborough people, the Acton people, all his own. And that's a go-getter. A manager's go-getter. And this town is 20 years ahead of the time. Our public is safer. You're going to be filling potholes 8 to 10 weeks, probably saving $40,000, $60,000 for taxpayers, because this guy and his folks have initiative. That's a manager right there. I know he'll never give smoke up his whatever, all right? All right? But here's the deal is that isn't good work. That's extraordinary on every issue. And this tough time with the money here, there's going to be money saved because we're not picking up sand. And if we put out 15,000 pounds of sand, we actually pick up like 2,000. It's crazy, right?
We pick about half.
And so for the people who care about our waters and stuff, it's going into drains. It's going on your lawns. So when you're not picking up sand off your lawns, folks, thank Ed. Give him a call and say, great job. And when your cars aren't in accidents, you know, and it's the same amount of salt. I'm running on here, but I'm telling you, sometimes I need something positive happening, and you're because of that. So I couldn't give you more kudos. And as a person from other towns, you're bringing towns forward. So thank you, and I'll stop here.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
having
Ed
said...
ran a class, actually, that I attended to learn about it, and I think Andrea went, and we learned a lot, especially about the pre-treating. You know, I didn't realize that, you know, we'd be putting the sand and salt down, maybe plowing it up, what you said, sometimes 20 minutes later, so it didn't have a chance to do its stuff, so it's a great direction for us.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And I do appreciate that, because you never hear the good, you always hear the bad, and boy does that department hear the bad. But you're right, we're not using more salt. You know, some people might say we are, but we're not. All we're doing is taking the sand out of the equation. We're still putting approximately the same amount, but again, we're not picking it up in the spring. And you know, with all those man hours, I calculated that 1 year cost us $44,000 to pick it up. And,
there's half the deficit.
Right there. Thanks so much. No, seriously, isn't that wonderful?
See, Ed's going to cut our deficit, and he's going to get more people.
And people don't realize, because we've had a way to mix it in with compost stuff, that lately we're having trouble finding a place to put it, and that stuff is considered hazardous. And if it sits, it can't sit longer than a year on our property, and at that point it has to be taken away at a cost of, I've heard, anywhere from $25 to $30 a yard. So if we're picking up, we usually put out 3,000 yards. If we pick up 1,500 yards, you can do the math, is, you know, $30 is $45,000 to get rid of it.
Not to interrupt you here, so we're saving roughly $40,000, and we're also saving $40,000 off the paper hazardous waste.
That most likely we would have to start doing, yeah.
So by good management, this town's better service, and we're saving $80,000. Incredible.
And,
good job.
And if you ever have a chance to go on a website to check, you know, if salt is bad, you'll find more on why sand is bad than why salt is bad, because salt will dissipate once it's on the road. You might find the white spots and everything, you know, on the edge of the road. You might find something that might, you know, have turned brown because of it. If you look on the sides of most of our roads, you see banks like this. That's not the way the road was. That's because of the sand that's been there over the years, and we don't have enough people to try to go out there and clean up the edges of the roads with our loader. We do it when we have rainy days and things like that. And the catch basins, that's you know, another point of contention, because that is considered not as hazardous as road sand, but is considered a hazardous product. We try to clean our basins per DEP requirements in populated areas every 2 years, but that's hard to do again. I have 4 guys. You know, you spend half your construction year picking up sand, it doesn't leave you much time to do anything else. Plus, you're sending 2 guys out doing potholes every day almost. It just never ends. So, you know, I just want to make you aware to be patient. The first storm seemed to work very well. I had no complaints that there were any slippery spots. It seemed to work. You know, the next morning we came up, nothing. We didn't have to really go back out to check anything. Today we actually tried it. I drove around it just as the snow started before I came here, and we actually sent the guys out at around 1:30 or so to try pre-treating, see how it works, see if it's stuck. A lot of the roads worked. There were a couple where my guys believed they didn't get enough material out, so we're going to adjust the spreaders to do that. But I was shocked that, you know, left Lunenburg, they were just out sanding and salting on top of the snow that's on the road, which is, as you heard in that meeting, you don't treat roads from the top down, you treat them from the bottom up. And I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, but the way it's snowing right now, how quick it's supposed to come down next hour, I did call them in, you know, an hour after we get called from the comm center, and we'll go out and treat them one more time. And if it keeps up like this in the next few hours, we'll probably have to go down and plow. But so far, all in all, it seems good. The guys are probably a little less skeptical, but, you know, we still have some that, you know, aren't so sure about it yet. But, you know, if it continues to work like this, I'm sure they'll change.
It's fine-tuning science.
It is.
It's going to technology, and that's what he's a brewmaster by now. He's got a degree.
Oh, yeah.
He's got these big batches up there, like, right, your beer makers would be jealous of him, but he actually has to know how to make the brew for different temperatures. So he went to school, and he's actually a Road Scholar.
A Road Scholar.
No, he's got a diploma.
Well, he tells us that for, it's not so much for salt, but it's for all the basic roads if you go for a number
He's keeping up with modern technology. And the last thing I have to say on Paul,
That's okay.
I'm excited about this. I need some good news once in a while. This is it. And now you said you have 4 people. Could you just tell us, since you've been there, what was your maximum amount of people you had working up there?
I had 6, 7, including a secretary.
So you had 8 staff, and you're down to 4 now, and you're getting the job done.
Not including the mechanic, but he's never in, because he doesn't go out and work on the road.
So you got half the staff that you had,
I lost
and you're still getting the job done.
2 3/4 people.
Yeah.
And
kudos to you.
my budget, my public works budget, which is the work I do in town, when I started here was $45,000, which is a drop in the bucket for 86 miles of road to maintain. It's now $30,000. And every year it's, you're doing the same, as they say, you're trying to do the same with less, and you don't get anywhere. We're treading water. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, because it is difficult to keep up with roads. We did have that company come in and give us a list of what we need to do for our roads to maintain them. That costs money. We rely on Chapter 90 alone, solely for paving our roads. On average, we've been lucky the last few years. We get about $400,000. If I do Bayberry Hill Road, which is 2 1/4 miles long next year, it's going to cost me somewhere in the vicinity of $400,000 to $500,000. So you can see that money doesn't go too far. And we do have enough to cover that road, but when you're doing 2 miles of road a year, I could work here 30 years and you'd get through 60 miles of road, and there's 86 miles in town. So, I know it's tough when you're asking residents to raise their taxes. We're all taxpayers. We don't like to see it go up. But I hear the same things whenever I go to those meetings, is we just can't keep up with the way things are going. And the cost, too. We're lucky fuel is down, so that cost for asphalt goes down a little bit, too.
I'm sorry for my passion.
No, that's
my glass is half full in this, so thank you.
I wanted to go back to it, if it's okay, to agenda item 3.6, review and discuss sidewalk construction proposal. I'm sorry?
I just wanted to ask him a question.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
No, that's
go ahead.
My name is Carrie McCarthy. Thank you very much for all you do. I was just wondering, if you save so much money, are you going to be requesting additional staff? It sounds like...
Well, yeah, but the money we saved is theoretical, because...
That's not good.
Well, it's saving them to do other work.
It's hours.
It's hours.
Hours.
You're looking at guys that I'm sending, sometimes 3 guys out when we were sweeping sand. In the year that I did it, we'd have, because they're so far away, you'd have 2 trucks and the sweeper. So you wouldn't have downtime with the sweeper waiting for the truck to come back. But with 4 guys, at least 1 guy to go do something else. So theoretically, those hours could be used somewhere else. Now, we are saving fuel on the sweeper if we don't use it, and of course the maintenance on the sweeper. And now I drove around town the other day, and if you'd have looked last year on our first storm, it'll look like these roads were a beach. And what happens? It blows off the side of the road. But now that I drove by, there's nothing. So the sweeper we purchased, if we continue to go this way, it will have to do some cleaning, but not 8 weeks worth. It might have to do the parade routes around the center of town. You might get some runoff in hills, but the work that it was doing before will be nothing compared to what it used to do. So, yeah, when I say we saved it, and it's like any business. If you find a way to do things better, you save some money, which allows you to do something else with that money that you have. So, manpower, people say, well, yeah, you get paid anyway to do the job. What's the difference? Well, it's like, yeah, but if I can have them doing some other work that is more meaningful than picking up sand, then I'd rather be doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I didn't know you had raised your hand. To go back to the agenda item while Ed is still here, to review and discuss sidewalk construction proposal from Weston Sampson for constructing sidewalk Route 19, Route 13 to Sterilite, Route 13 to Sterilite. So just for a little background, many years ago I passionately fought for some money for design work for sidewalks. And the idea was the state said when they come through and repave 119, they will install the sidewalks for free. The design work never got completed, but we do have money in there that's still available. So I asked Ed to put together a proposal. We have about $73,000 to get estimate for the most dangerous sections of 119 to have design, and then it can go on the tips list, because a lot of times at the end of the year they have, $300,000 or $400,000, there's not enough to pave, but so they'll do projects like that. and thank you for coming here for it. I appreciate the proposal, but in light of the $100,000 deficit, I don't know if you want to take a chance to evaluate all the funds we have that we might have to repurpose. This just came up tonight, but we do have the proposal, so I would have Jim work with you if we want to use it for that to go forward. But in light of having to look at everything, I think it's best to hold off instead of saying go ahead.
And not for nothing, I mean, the state's been saying they were going to help us repay Route 13 since...
No, I know.
19...
Well, we've been on that for a long time.
So don't hold your breath if they say they're going to pay for the sidewalk.
Well, if you get it on the tip list, then at least it's there.
Right, but see what they're doing now because they don't have money is they're only doing bad sections.
Yeah.
And so that's probably going to hurt us in the long run that they're doing it that way instead of saying they're going to go straight through and mill and resurface the entire road.
So, with my board's permission, we can table this, because Jim's going to have to look at it possibly.
I would defer to you and Cindy and Jim, because I think you're going to be the brains here to help us solve this crisis. So I'll go along with whatever you please say, okay?
Yeah, I'd just like him to have everything available to look at.
I think you two have the brain power to get us through this with Jim. All right?
Okay. Is there anything else?
Stay safe.
Off to work.
Thank you for your work. Be safe out there. Could you do one last favor on behalf of the whole board? Can you tell your staff that the people of Townsend, and we appreciate that they're embracing this new technology, and we appreciate your efforts.
All right, I will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Bye, Ed.
Good night.
Good night. Sorry, Jim. Back to where you were.
I think we're in miscellaneous... Nope, excuse me. Project updates. Tennessee Gas Pipeline.
Actually, back up to the key fobs.
Town Hall.
Yep,
Town Hall, excuse me. I'm advised there was an authorization to fund key fob system in Town Hall. I was also advised it was to consider installing security cameras, but Andrea reached out and said that she didn't believe that was the case, so I haven't looked at that yet, but that might be irrelevant now anyway if we need to seek the ability to hold that on ice to reprogram it in the spring to be able to handle the police station if we can't get the insurance claim.
So table that one too.
Okay, we'll just let that sit there for now. So again, under board action requested, there was none there. Those were just informational for you. Moving to Tennessee Gas Pipeline, pursuant to your earlier vote, we filed just last week to officially become recognized as legal intervener in the legal process of the siting of the Kinder Morgan pipeline. You had a vote of record saying that you authorized the chair to sign and submit intervener paperwork to be able to be legally recognized to participate in the process before the FERC going forward. So that was actually done. The deadline was to be tomorrow. It's been moved a week, but we got it in last week, so that's all set now. Lastly, you'll get to Section 4, miscellaneous updates. Open meeting law complaint. I'm enclosing 2 open meeting law complaints for review and vote. Under board action requested, please review and be prepared to discuss and vote. What I think would be most appropriate, and I'm glad actually that I looked back and saw some earlier minutes where you did this, is there's a little bit of work to do that's probably not best done now. But if you could take a vote to authorize the chair and I to work these issues and get the submittal in to the Secretary of State's office, I think that might be the most productive use of everybody's time, unless you feel very strongly about wanting to try to hash through these things live this evening.
One of the open meeting law complaints has already been answered. Another person filed the same complaint, so that's going to be real simple.
Can you tell me which one that is so I can follow? Is it the second one?
December 24th, there was one filed that seeks information that was actually sought by someone else and has already been responded to by council sometime back in early December. Oh, no, I thought it was December.
Could be. I'm losing track of time.
So that one's as simple as enclosing that same opinion from council on.
Yeah, recording it. That's the one that we need to address right away.
This is the one.
No, that's January 2nd, isn't it? January 6th. There's a December. It should have a December.
Yes, I saw 24th. That one. It's back here.
Yeah, and that one's.
And I remember that. I think O'Reilly already gave you an opinion on that, right? This one here.
Theo had filed the exact same complaint, I think. So that's already been responded to, and then we have a new one.
But even if we get repeat complaints, we still have an
Oh,
obligation to
absolutely,
respond. Yeah, but
absolutely.
it's already
So we
been
can put together-
researched, answered, it's just, it's as simple as a cut and paste on that one.
This template, right, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have this other one here, right?
Yeah, so if my colleagues would agree, the chairman signs them anyway, and I know you weren't here during
Yeah,
them.
I agree with whatever, to work out how to respond. I pretty much abstained though because I wasn't on the board when either one of these occurrences or alleged occurrences were there, so.
Yeah, so one of them has to be responded to ASAP.
Yeah, that'll go out tomorrow.
Go out tomorrow. So if my board would agree to authorize me to work with Jim and to sign it, and then we'll bring them to the next meeting to be read and responded to.
Just a vote of ratification publicly after, yeah.
Are we meeting next week?
We didn't have any plans to.
Okay.
We might need to, well, depending on when FinCom's going to schedule their meeting, so just every other week usually, unless Jim tells us we have to.
I know that before we changed, this one was supposed to be last week, and then we had originally said last week and next week.
That's true, we put it off for week 2. We were meeting the 1st and 3rd of every
Right,
month,
but
and now
so
it's
we
the 2nd and 4th. Does anybody have any preference on that?
If we're going to be meeting with FinCom, maybe at the beginning of next week, maybe we keep our Tuesday, the traditional Tuesday, which would be next week anyway, and we can keep a couple of these items that are going to need the board's attention in addition to meeting with FinCom.
That's fine with me.
I just wondered, in the past, I saw that you've usually read the letters in the meeting publicly, and then you've responded to them in the meeting at another meeting, so I just wondered why you wouldn't read them tonight also.
Well, they're not an agenda item, but we'll read them into the record with the response for you at the next meeting. I promise.
I thought he had put them into the agenda with his, as far as, if you look, he has the sheet that he's going off of right now as
Non-administrator's
a
report.
reference to the agenda, so it is part of the agenda.
I promise we'll read them into the record, Leanne, like we have the other ones.
And through you, Madam Chair, to Leanne, I'd be more comfortable if I had actually posted this concurrently with the agenda.
Yes.
But because I didn't get it out there until Monday, I think we're probably better, because it wasn't officially posted with the agenda, to not go into that level of detail with it tonight.
Okay, that's fine.
But we absolutely will. We'll read them into the records as we have with the past procedure. The next meeting.
Okay.
So was there a vote to authorize the chair?
I believe, Cindy, I think we need a, if I'm wrong, Madam Chairman, could you correct me?
Make a motion to authorize the chair and the town administrator to work together to compile responses to the open meeting law violation complaints. And report back next week.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Lastly, you'll see public comment section on the agenda. A citizen emailed asking to have a public comment section placed on each agenda. I wanted you to be aware of the request and to let you know that I'll be reaching out to each of you over the next week to get your feelings on the matter, which I did not do. I got it at the end of last week. I didn't reach out to you this weekend over it. I don't know if it's ever been the case in Townsend that the agenda actually has a formal agenda item for public comment or announcement. In communities where I've worked in the past, there has been such a spot, and the one caution I would offer you is to clearly define what it's for. I've seen it go badly sometimes where it's not clearly defined what the purpose of that agenda item is, because you'll have someone come up and they'll bring up a very legitimate concern, but a substantive concern that would normally be placed on the agenda. So you get a live kind of presentation of an issue without the ability to meaningfully respond, and then it just puts something out there for a week or two until your next meeting that you've not had a chance to really be able to appropriately respond to. So if it's of substance, it would be a request to go on the agenda. The way I've seen them worded in the past is, a time limit, so somebody doesn't get on and carry on and take up, an entire night, and that they be public comments or announcements, but not public discussion or debate. It's been as simple as, the Scouts are having, a car wash next Thursday. We want to make a public comment. Our Relay for Life team is, having a, fundraiser. Things like that are truly public comments or announcements. But the only caution I would offer is to consider it as a policy of the board and clearly define what it's about, because it can get away pretty easily if everybody doesn't understand what the purpose of it is.
Karen and I had talked about public comment. That's something we were going to talk about at a board in a future meeting, but I agree it would need to be clearly defined, so maybe we can schedule that for an agenda item on how we'd like to...
I can pull some policies from other communities. I'm aware of a couple that I've looked at in the past when I had this issue come up previously. So I can put a couple policies together for you for your consideration.
Sounds good.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Actually, I lied. I have one more thing. And this isn't written, but it came up since the posting of the agenda. Public records custodians appears to be an issue of some confusion or concern, which is understandable. Legally, for a town, the town clerk is the official legal, I can attest and certify to public records. He or she can stamp and certify that that is in fact a public record. That doesn't mean, however, that the town clerk is the only person who has access to, custody of, or the ability to disseminate public records. An issue was raised. There was a public records request that I responded to. I put out 90-some-odd pages of email that was responsive to the request for any email that the words public record was used that I sent or received. So I put that out, and it appears that a portion of one of the emails that I put out was excerpted and shows a conversation between Chairwoman Smart and Town Council on another public records request. And it's somewhat dangerous to drop in, as I have, to this town these days when there are some factions that exist that aren't particularly friendly with each other. And I want to be clear that there are things that I'll say in the 6 months that I'm here that will probably upset somebody, or maybe even many people, but I want to just try to stick to what are the facts, and if it upsets somebody, then I apologize in advance. But the fact is that for that piece of email to have been used to suggest that Chairwoman Smart is not a custodian of public records and shouldn't have been involved in that matter is not, it's not accurate, it's not complete. To point, there's in Massachusetts we have state statutes, Mass General laws, from which come regulations, which is really the guts on how the law is meant to be implemented. And in this case, the Mass Regulation, it's Code of Mass Regulations, or CMR. It's 950 CMR 32.03. And I'd be happy to provide that to folks, which says each governmental officer or employee who in the normal course of his or her duties has access to or control of public records is a custodian of such records. So we can debate, and it's healthy to debate whether or not, as a member of the board, there should have been interaction with, in that case, town council, CCing the town administrator on an issue. But there can't be debate about the fact that the chair, the clerk, the vice chair, the exec assistant, myself, or anybody else that has access to or generates public records is a custodian of those records and has the ability to disseminate them. Toward that point, once I realized that everybody believed at least they had the ability to respond to public records requests and things were getting dished out, I put an email out. I asked Jody to put an email out to all boards, commissions, employees beneath the select board in the org chart, which for day-to-day would be beneath me. From this point forward, if a public records request comes in, it comes to me, because there are legal responsibilities for what gets released and what doesn't get released. And a well-intended person not trained may put something out on the street that shouldn't be there, for which there can be a ripple effect that we want to avoid. I suggested to boards and commissions and employees not under the jurisdiction of the select board or me day-to-day that I would strongly request or recommend that you do the same when you put it in with us. So I've taken a little bit of heat because of that, because it rubbed people wrong. I apologize that it rubbed them wrong, but it's dangerous stuff when you have public documents, some of which have personnel or medical or legal connotations being disseminated without one clearinghouse. So if I've upset anybody because I put the email out, I apologize, but I think it's above and beyond any conflicts that are going on. It's in the best interest of the town to have a fairly tight control over that process. That doesn't mean I am the keeper of public records, full stop, grand poobah. I'm just one of many that are the custodians of public records, but there needs to be some system control on how the stuff is getting done.
The majority of municipalities have those controls. It's not that your plate isn't already full, but maybe we can pull some policies for that. I'm very policy-driven.
Well,
that way everybody understands the guidelines and no one can get in trouble. But to your point, I know there are emails out there that should never have gone out there, and we have some issues with that. So I think it's time to make sure we have strong policy.
The town of Stowe has a really good policy on public records, which I'll print copies, or you can feel free to just Google it yourself between now and when I get a chance to get it to you. But that's a good one that I would suggest would be a nice template to look at.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to realize too that if since I've been on the Board of Selectmen, I've got more paper. I have to get a new file cabinet in order to keep it all. But there's a lot of confidential material. So as a custodian, if we're all custodians because we have these records, we're also responsible for safeguarding them.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily I have the right to disseminate them to whoever I want to because I have them. And I can give these. But it's my responsibility to safeguard them. So with that in mind, that we need to be clear that before anything gets disseminated that it's not protected, or what is the proper procedure to release them.
The other thing that'll offer...
gives everybody a safety net too. Department heads that aren't sure what am I supposed to do, they're going to have clear guidelines.
Yeah, I don't mind being hung on that. If something gets out by me that shouldn't have, then by all means hang me on it. But the town shouldn't have things just flying out from all angles. An additional takeoff on this is if I'm Joe Blow citizen or employee, and I have a particular issue for which there is a document, and I'm involved in that document, but it's my personnel matter or my financial information, I have a right as a citizen to give that to anybody I want to if it's about me. So it's been interesting trying to figure out what's going on here since I've been here, but poor Jody, she's got a stack this big of public records requests that are so overly broad that you know that there's something being asked for, and probably something that's already known, but in order to be, I think, appropriately protective of somebody who might be behind the scenes with knowledge, it gets written as this thing that takes on a life of its own. So I would say publicly that if there are people that have documents that are their personal documents that have to do with them, they can give them. If it implicates the board on a pending legal matter, they can't give it. So they have to be wise with what they do. But if it's otherwise publicly disclosable by us, and somebody has it, and they're a party to it, it's publicly disclosable by them too. So what I'm saying is, if it can be done, whoever's asking for all these public records requests, save us a little bit of time by just telling us what you're looking for, because we can get it for you and not have to go through quite as much, because I know that I'm delinquent on getting back to you guys on some stuff because there's so much of it.
Real quick, I believe that the public records request that Mr. Feigler had referred to is the one that I had put in, and so I feel the need to address it. I think that what had happened was...
What was the public records request?
It was a public records request that I had asked for an email of somebody that worked in the police department, because I wanted to know if anyone at the police department was given an email during a certain time period, and so I got something back from Mr. Kryler saying that Chief Ryder was given an email on the 4th, which was prior to when he was ever appointed.
I got CC'd on that.
Okay, so that was what it was in regard to, but the thing that he's saying is basically, I have it here, he's saying that the question was that whether or not you were a custodian of the public records of the town. And it was addressed that way because the email was given to the town administrator. I got a response from that email. The response was from the town administrator current that was here. He told me that...
So Andy responded to you?
Yep, and he said that Mr. Cloutier could not do it. It would cost too much money. He would need a software program to do it. But the request was also sent to David Mazza. And David Mazza said he believes he can get that through his system because they have different systems. So then I was told that you responded to it, and that was what this email was, and you had never even gotten it. It wasn't procedure at that point. He had sent it just to town council. You had sent it to town council saying that, referencing me and my mother, saying it was a request from Leanne Sulicio's daughter. So that was the attack. It was why is Carolyn Smart, A, getting involved in this when it was something that was not going to the town clerk's office, it was going to the town administrator's office. Why did you have it? It wasn't a time when you should have...
Well, I can tell you I had it because Andy sent it to me and asked me, and so I said, I don't know, and I forwarded it off to town council.
Well, because Andy had actually said that Mr. Cloutier had forwarded to you. So that's why...
I'd have to look at my emails.
Yeah,
We're talking like 3 weeks ago.
And that's why I had got a response back to it. And so my point is that nobody was asking whether or not you were a keeper of it. We were basically, I think,
I didn't even know they were, Leanne.
You at that point had no kind of right to be involved in that day-to-day as being a selectman in that point, the town clerk under those circumstances would not have gotten involved in the matter.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with town clerk's office anyway.
Exactly. So we didn't understand. The person who had posted that wanted to know, why were you getting involved in my
Was this another social media issue? Is that?
Can I take a crack at this?
Refer to it whatever, however you
No, I'm trying to figure out. I'm kind of behind the scenes here. What are you talking about?
Madam Chairman, can I interrupt? Mr. Crillo wants to...
If I could take a crack at that, Leanne. Members of the Board of Selectmen are informed regularly about, should be informed regularly about
things like that. They weren't before that.
And I don't know that, but if I take left or right and go down one road or another, if I end up at the same location and I'm legitimately allowed to be there, we can chase each other all day about which path we took, but she has every right to know that a public request came in, public records request.
Sure.
Allow me to finish. And she has every right to then participate, CCing the town administrator. Now, I would give you a lot.
The town administrator. That's what I'm telling you.
I said CCing the town administrator, which she did on that document.
Yes, after the fact. Yeah.
I don't know what you mean after that. The only document I've seen that you're referring to, she is CC'd.
My request was already starting to be processed before she had intervened and got involved in it. That was the whole point.
How do you know that?
Because I had already got a response back on half of it verbally. From Andy when I spoke with him.
And I presume the board must know that then. Oh, you don't? Well, that means you weren't informed. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Not the board. That's what I'm telling you.
You weren't informed of a lot of things.
No.
I think board matter.
My
point is this. My point is this: is that before I realize that you've been CCing the board members. Fine. That's great. Keep everybody happy. But it was not done on the response to me, and Carolyn was not involved in that.
You don't know that, though.
At that time. I do know that.
No, you don't. And to go back to your
And I know what you said to the lawyer about, in reference saying that, Sulicio's daughter. What's the relevance of that?
I would have written the same thing. Just for context.
Just so we knew who Leanne Jackson was.
It doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. I'm a citizen.
Well, I'm sorry if you were offended by it, but I mean, it's just...
I am.
So let me go back to... trying to remember exactly, and I'll look at my emails and I'll release the other one, but Andy had CC'd me on it, and Steve Cloutier, and said, do you have this? And Steve responded back and said, we don't have a list, we need to provide a document. And so I shot it off to town council and said, do we need to?
Exactly.
So that's how that chain went. I don't understand.
But that did not have Andy until you added him. So Steve went and told you for it and didn't go back to him. But was he telling you as a town clerk, or was he telling you as a selectman? Because if he was telling you as a selectman, then I would have thought
it was a selectman's request, so I'm sure he was telling me as a selectman. I didn't think of it as a very big deal, but
it is a big deal.
But why is it a big deal? I'm missing the point, I guess.
It's a big deal because you intervened in it and you sent it to town council as if there was anything more to do with it.
Well, there was a question. If there's not already a list, you're asking for a public document. The public document doesn't exist. Do we need to create it in order to fill your public records request? So that's a legal question. So no one was intervening. They were questioning, do we need to create a document?
Oh, sure.
So that's how...
So there was a question from Mr. Cloutier. So he went to you as the clerk to help.
It has nothing to do with town clerk's office. Nothing. These records weren't kept at the town clerk's office.
Through the town administrator to address the board.
Andy was CC'd on it. Andy was involved with it.
Mr. Cloutier didn't CC.
Is it I do know what you're saying, but let's all just kind of cut to the...
I'm prepared to move forward. However, I don't.
No, let me just say this.
I don't.
Everybody needs to recognize, I think, in fairness, that the system was broken over the last several months here. And we can say it was Carolyn's fault or it was Andy's fault, and we can all, continue to stir that up. And maybe there's some value in that. Maybe people like it. I don't know. But you know what? I'm trying to do the work, and I can't even get to the work because there's all this other stuff in the air. But the fact is, if you think that was her...
But that's your job. It doesn't matter
Understood. Let me finish, please. If it means that much to you that you think that reflects an egregious violation of the charter, that she was interjecting herself in day-to-day, God bless you. I think it's not an illegitimate point. It's not an illegitimate point. My point is, can't we all just recognize what was happening?
Sure, yeah.
Andy and Carolyn weren't talking. They should have been. So if there was stuff being done by Carolyn or Cindy when she got here, or Gordy, that normally if things were working well wouldn't have been done, I think we should all recognize, yeah, that happened. And the question is, what then? And if the what then is where you're going and what you want to do, again, that's your prerogative. But let's at least just recognize what it was. It wasn't, to my thinking, in the short time I've been here, and believe me, I would encourage you to speak to anybody that I've worked with as a Board of Selectmen member in 25 years. I'm an ardent defender of the charter and the chain of command. So much so that I have almost been run out of places because I won't allow that chain to be broken. Which is why when I interviewed, the first thing out of the gate was, it needs to be this. And if they hire me, that's great. At least I got to say this. If they don't, then that's fine. But things were so broken that stuff needed to be being done, and people weren't talking to each other. So stuff was getting done that probably, when things are the way they should have, wouldn't be being done. But what next? As a community, what next? If chucking these two out on their ear is the what next for you, God bless you. That's your right as a citizen. I don't know where we're going, I guess. I don't know what the end game or the wish for, the next morning when we wake up is. But it just seems we should be able to recognize that stuff happened that shouldn't have happened based on relationships that were broken. And if people want to ascribe ill intent to it, again, that's your prerogative. But
you weren't here, in all fairness, so I don't think really you should speak to it. But
I have to speak to it.
But no, I'm just saying. So in the future, I would hope that you would understand that I shouldn't be getting public records requests. Like if I do one that basically say my name and just.
They were your public records request. You signed your name to them. So I don't.
Okay, so.
And so I was telling town council who you were. So.
Okay. You know who I am, right?
I know who you are.
You met me a couple times, I think, just again the other night.
Although I didn't recognize you when you had your hand up.
And you know why that was done, why the parenthetical Sue Lizio's daughter was added.
Oh, no.
For context. Of course you do.
Yeah.
For context, because Sue had been filing other requests. So this is for context.
Okay, let's drop it. Drop it. Yeah, I'm okay with it. It's not getting anywhere.
I think it is.
Thank you, though.
Thank you.
Thank you for trying to explain it.
And honestly, Leanne, I didn't put any thought into that at all.
No,
your mother had been making public...
get my records request, so I'm glad. Now I know that Chief Ryder had an email prior to being ever appointed and never being our interim police, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
I think in addition to public record requests, and you're right, I appreciate you saying that, but it's so wide thing that, you're right, it does have to get down to specifics, but to be honest, I just think that the way, you're right, A wasn't talking to B, whatever it was. Two people, a board not talking to, discontent, whatever it was, and things were getting done. However, there's things that have happened. There's things that have been said into public record that have come forth that are not true.
All right, I'm going to stop you right there, because that's wrong, Steve.
Okay, do you want to do this
No,
tonight?
because it's not on the agenda, and
Okay, so I put it
you know what,
in-
we had you on the agenda on November 24th, we answered all your questions, we were respectful. Unfortunately, you didn't want to return that favor, so I'm not interested in getting back and forth. We have a lot of issues going on in the town right now.
I know.
Financially and everything else that we really need to concentrate on. You as a citizen have every right to ask for all the public records you have and, file whatever complaints you want. I just hope you work respectfully with our town administrator in getting them resolved, because
He has been. He has been.
So, and that's all I ask, but other than that, that's enough. Okay, Board of Selectmen's updates and reports. Did you have any?
I'm wondering if we can embarrass someone.
Like who?
Ian O'Connor is not here. We have a different reporter.
Well, please don't embarrass the new guy.
What did you do?
Yeah. Welcome.
Can we make the reporter news and introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm Amelia. I typically don't cover Townsend, obviously.
No.
I'm changing the road, but we sent out here tonight.
Are you just covering for tonight, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Apologies.
Did you have any other? No. Gordy, did you have any updates or reports?
If you don't mind, just a quick one.
Please.
It's been a while since we've had a meeting, and the New Year's, for a lot of people, are times for reflection. So I've actually tried to reflect over 2015 and 2016 and coming. And so I've made a commitment to try to be glass half full here. And I would first of all like to say to Cindy King and to Carolyn that we don't always agree or we don't always disagree, but the two of you have been absolute professionals. And actually, I think in executive session, I can't say this, but I think I've agreed with you twice and you twice. But the bottom line was that we talked to each other. And for the 9,000 people in Townsend, I want to compliment you two, that you two, even though you might come from different places, a lot of what goes on in the Selectman's office, people don't see behind the scenes, and we can't tell them things that we know. But I first of all want to compliment you two and Cindy that we've worked together. We disagree, but again, like I said in executive session, I think twice I voted with you and twice I voted you. But then at the end, we came forward what was good for the people. So my first part of 2016 is to compliment the two people I work with. And then the other thing for 2016 is I would just have to say in the 3 weeks that Mr. Criddle is here, I can't tell you how impressed about his knowledge base about municipal government and about how he's a solution maker. And obviously some facts have come out tonight that are quite alarming, but he's about getting solutions and working with people. So I think we're extremely fortunate for the 6 months you're here to get the ship back on track here and to work for the 9,000 people out there to make their lives better. And I think we spent too much time on the negatives, and last year, just as Ed was here, we changed DPW, hasn't been done 20 years. The children who couldn't get a place to put a file cabinet before the board came, now are at almost no cost, are now having a recreation center. We have state contracts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars for the compacts that are coming in. So there are good things going on in Townsend. And I think the only way we move forward, folks, is that for the 9,000 people out there, we work for you. One thing that concerns me is that there's more work that needs to be done here. You can tell this. And it doesn't matter whose fault it is, or their employees haven't been paid correctly, or the benefits haven't been done. There's a serious problem. But we're getting solutions, and we're getting qualified people to come in here and move Townsend forward. And so it's about solutions, and I want us all to find a way to work together. These are quality of life issues, and they're unacceptable in the past, the malfeasance that's going on. Let's focus on moving forward, and only together, these are serious problems, can we get it done. One thing that does concern me is that 9,000 people, Jody and this gentleman here have more, they could have 2 more staff members for the work that's been put on them. And the amount of
personal issues every single day they have to answer to a small group with public records. I'm not saying they don't have a thing to do that, but we got to first get this town back on its feet, folks, together. So let's make 2016, please, half glass full and work together, because Townsend's a great place. We have so many blessings, the fire station, everything else here. Let's all just try to be respectful and find a way to work together. That's the end of my little thing here, and Happy New Year. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, Lauren. Since you mentioned Jody, and Jody, you do a great job. You had... I just wanted to ask to the statements that were being made and all the work. Several meetings ago, it was recommended that your hours be increased and that your raise be given. Have your hours been increased? They have. Yeah, we voted. We didn't have that before, because that certainly would have been helpful. And are we allowed to ask if she got a raise?
It was in a public meeting, Lori. We did not give a step increase, but we increased her hours to 35.
Nor do we give any other employees raises during that meeting.
Thank you, Jody.
Okay, so are you all set, Lori? Okay. Just a few things. I just wanted to let folks know that the Fire EMS Association is picking up your Christmas trees. They've been advertising different places. So if you still have your Christmas tree for a $10 donation, they'd be happy to come pick it up and take it away for you. Also, the school budget, the school committee will be meeting, having another budget meeting. The next one's going to be on January 25th, if anybody's interested in attending that. And I didn't know if one of us or maybe the town administrator could start going to... I missed the one last night. I couldn't go to the one last night.
I'll be engaging.
Okay. The other, under my updates and reports, I try and recognize people. We recognize Jody quite a bit, but I'd like to say that Susan Bresnick and Rebecca Hershey down in the Tax Collector Treasurer's office, they've been great. I've been going home late, and Rebecca's down there, and they're really supporting Suzanne down there, and we're very fortunate to have them.
Could you just tell people who Suzanne is?
Sorry, Rebecca Hershey is our Assistant Tax Collector Treasurer, and Suzanne Bresnick is the Department Assistant. Is that her correct title?
That's all, just so people out there know.
Yeah, and they've really,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
with the transition down there, have been doing a great job. The other thing I did want to ask about is I know we were trying to schedule some trainings, and did you put together one of the MCAD trainings?
The request to council for one of their free trainings is out, and they were looking at doing something probably end of January originally, but because we have MMA coming up and there's a lot of other things going on now, I know FinCom are going to be engaging with, they're looking probably at doing it in early February, but it'll be a harassment training generally, so it'll take into effect MCAD, sexual harassment, and plain old run-of-the-mill harassment of any sort. So they do a standard training where they come out, and again, the same type of a memo would go out from me to all boards, committees, commissions, employees that are under the org chart of the select board or me day-to-day, that they be required to attend, and the request would be made that all others attend. We get into a situation of flexing hours and working with people that, there are labor concerns, but it's important that people have that training available. It's important for them so they know, but it's also important for the organization to be able to have a sign-in sheet that says people receive this training. And I don't see that having happened anytime recently.
No, and that's been one of my passions. I think the last time, it's been some time that we had a training session, it was about 4 years ago, we had a 30B training, but I'd love to see us get back into a training every quarter, even if everybody couldn't attend, so maybe that's something we can work on going forward with our policies.
Absolutely.
Our EAP program is free. Our insurance company is free. We had our insurance company come out to do defensive driving training once when our loss ratios were up so high. Somebody's beeping.
Whose phone's ringing?
That's okay.
Oh, is it you?
Thank you.
Sorry, it's a new phone and I didn't...
Sorry. Thank you.
It didn't sound... I didn't think it was yours. That's funny. So then, I didn't know if it was possible, and this is totally your call, I'm just expressing my wishes, especially as the financial situation unrolls, if you can do like an department head employee meeting, because they're going to be kind of hearing it in the paper or whatever and getting stressed out without having the information, and I hate to do that to them. And then the last thing I had was, I guess there's a new president for the Townsend Business Association, Lindsay Moran, so I just wanted to congratulate her. But one of my goals has been, since I was a selectman, is strengthening the ties between town businesses and government because you can really accomplish a lot together. So I'm hoping maybe we could touch base with Lindsay, maybe come to a meeting and hear from the business community. It's always valuable advice.
Absolutely.
And that was all I had. Good. Okay. Meeting minutes. Jody, you did a few of them. Did everybody have a chance to...
I don't know, only you got back to me.
Okay.
But I just gave them out today, so.
Okay. Well, she had done 3 sets for us. I had no problem with them.
Jody was nice enough this morning, I stopped by and I did review them. So is it 3 or 2 sets? I think there's 3. Is that those the ones you gave me this morning? I'm sorry, Carolyn.
No, it's okay.
And so, thanks to Jody giving them to me and Jim helping me out, I'm all set.
Okay. Did you want to wait to review them?
No, I got the email.
Okay.
So, I'm all right. Just that the 11:10 minutes, I was not on the board.
Yes.
So, but the other 2,
that's what I did.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, you can even vote them. I mean, they're just regular minutes.
They're just a record. Doesn't matter that you weren't here. They're
Do you
just
want me
a
to make a
record.
motion that
Yeah, if you want to do all 3 of them, that's fine.
Except, okay, make a motion that we accept the minutes for 11:10, 2015, 11:24, 2015, and 12/1, 2015.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5.4, review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants. This week it's only bills payable, so...
Make a motion that we review and sign, it's only bills payable?
Yeah,
It's only
no payable.
bills payable warrants and sign them out of session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll gladly entertain a motion to adjourn before the roads get much worse.
Make a motion to adjourn.
At
8:08.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Be safe going home, folks, please. Happy New Year.
Jim, can you give me your report? I have a copy.